All right, another concern has been the kicking game. And take a look at this. After missing 6 of his last 9 field goal attempts, Dustin Hopkins, uh, career low 64%. It's 15 percentage points lower than his previous low of 79%. 5 of his 9 misses this year have been inside the 50. Um, and I know you wrote an article about the kicking game. It has him questioning the extension that Andrew Berry gave him, during or before the season. Kevin Stefanski kind of came out today and said he's definitely our guy and we'll work through it. But take us through the article and just kind of what you went through with that article.
Yeah, the biggest thing with the Dustin Hopkins extension. Now, I think it's important to note like kicker money is not really comparable to a cornerback or a receiver, right? It's not a premier position, but the 15.9, I think it was, $1 million contract they gave him, that deal made him the fifth highest paid kicker in the league. But for me, the interesting part about this extension was the fact that Dustin Hopkins was already locked up through 2024. Now, the Browns, I think, wanted to reward him for a career best 2023. I think a lot of teams probably would have done the same thing, but they didn't have to. And it's one of those aggressive moves that, in hindsight, you can now start to look at and be like, did they really have to do this? When they did it, because we already know their cap situation is like the worst in the league. And there's already so many guys that are going to have dead cap money for next year, including Amari Cooper, Zadarius Smith, Jed Wills, if he's not back. Who knows what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson? So, in theory, if they were to cut him pre June 1st, it would be about a $5 million cap hit. If he was a post June 1st designation, it would be over $3 million. It would be just a drop in the bucket if they would decide to part ways with him. But for me, the extension is just kind of an example of, hey, this wasn't something you had to do. In theory, it was nice. And then my other issue with it, though, is you look at Dustin Hopkins throughout his career. I think this is by far a low point. We just put the percentage up there, 64%. He's never been lower than 79% in terms of his field goal attempts and makes in any individual season. He's typically about a mid 80% kicker in terms of field goals, typically a guy who will make about 50% of 50 plus yard field goals. But knowing that, last year was really the anomaly when he made 91% of his field goal attempts and he was a perfect 8 for 8 from 50 plus yards out. It's like this year is an anomaly for Dustin Hopkins. It's a negative anomaly, but last year was the sort of the opposite end of the spectrum. It was a really, really good year. But I think maybe in this instance, it wouldn't have been the worst thing to wait and see if he could replicate it and just kind of go from there after the fact.